Hi folks, Don Garbutt here. This video is featuring the Drumazon plugin from D16 Audio Group. This instrument pays tribute to the Roland TR-909 drum machine. First of all, it's a very excellent sound generator and can be played from MIDI notes from your host keyboard. To do that, you would simply go up here and unclick the internal sequencer, and this would allow you to do all your sequencing in your host program. There are a lot of advantages in actually using the pattern system of the instrument itself, though, and I would imagine in most cases that you'd want it to sync to your external host. So with these two buttons active, Drumazon is set up to enable you to toggle the pattern selection from keys on your keyboard. On this topic of pattern control from MIDI, open up the Options display and select the Sequencer tab. I would recommend that you set it to Note Off mode. This means that when you lift your finger from your MIDI keyboard, the pattern stops playing. Otherwise, the pattern will continue to play once you toggle the note until you change the pattern by playing a new note. I like this method because it stops playing as soon as you lift your finger, but it allows the natural decay of the note to ring out. I'll give you an example. With this approach, you can make a very interesting musical result out of bits of your patterns. Before I get to the discussion on patterns, I just want to point out that the sound settings come in presets. This is your preset browser. You can run patterns and change the presets and listen to how the sounds change. To activate pattern play from these buttons, we're going to take it out of host mode. While your pattern's running, you can toggle forwards and backwards on your preset list. Or you can open the preset browser and select right off of there, where you can see the factory set of presets and a second folder which I've renamed, and in this folder you can save your own presets. You can also use MIDI program change to select preset changes. When you've made some changes to a preset and you want to save them, go into the browser, choose Copy Preset, which temporarily stores all your settings in the buffer, select your target destination, and press the Paste button. You can rename a preset here, or you can rename it in this strip. In the sound generation section, we've got mute and solo buttons for each sound. These buttons can be MIDI controllable. The MIDI learn button is here, and you select a parameter and transmit a MIDI controller message. I've set up the buttons on my Axiom keyboard to transmit momentary switch messages. This is a cool way to interact with the MIDI generation. Unlike audio, when you activate the mutes, the notes will ring out. You can view your MIDI assignments by going back into Options and selecting MIDI Control. Here you can delete individual assignments and you can save and load your assignment configurations. In this way you could open up another Drumazon and load this assignment list into it. Obviously we've heard the sounds of these classic drum machines quite a bit over the past 30 years, but this approach compared to sampling enables you to tweak all the parameters on each individual sound. These are the volume controls for each instrument, and you can assign each sound out a separate output. Simply adjust the number in this box to select the output assignment. And then in your host, make sure you've loaded the multi-channel version of the instrument. On the bottom of the multi-output object in Logic, you've got a little plus button. That automatically creates an aux object with its input selected from the individual audio streams coming out of your Drumazon. Here you've got the basic tuning on the kick drum, and you've got the accent of the attack of the sound, which is controllable. The duration of the note is controlled here, and these two controls enable you to bend the pitch. This controls the amount, and this controls the speed of that bend. On the snare, you have control over the accent energy, control over the tonal component, pitch of the tonal component, duration of the noise-like element, and volume of the noise-like element. So that's it for the basic introduction to Drumazon. Here's a piece of music made with the D16 group instruments featuring the Drumazon. I'm also using the LUSH101 for all the keyboard sounds. Notice the automation control over parameters on the Drumazon and the keyboard-controlled pattern switching. In the next video, I'll talk about programming patterns. See you for now.